Philip Napoli, best buddy of Vosa Davidovich, among other claims.
He actually has written at least one, I think 2 articles for Star City over the years. One of the funniest storytellers I've ever known.
Absolutely. And last time we had him on coverage when we were in Somerset when he was playing teams with Vosa Davidovich and William Postlethwaite, he had a very ugly hat on. Gerard and I called him out on it. It had to be done.
Yeah.
But now he's got a very cool Miami Marlins hat on to go with his Force and Avacyn's Pilgrim. So good on you, Phil, for improving your attire for your next Canada match. We're proud of you. So we've got dueling Avacyn's Pilgrim here from Napoli and Davis,
which is a little strange.
But I
don't see that much anymore.
I want to kind of compare these lists of junk random because one of the things you want to look for is we're going to see a Farseek here from Phil. That's a little bit different. You see Farseek, but the one thing you look for is how many acidic slimes. I got 2 in my main deck here on Napoli's side.
Just the 1 over here for Jim.
Okay.
In the main.
And then I have there are 2 Fiend Hunters here, 3 Restoration Angels, 3 Angels Serenity, 4 Thragtusk, 4 Pilgrim, and then the spells you see a Farseek being resolved by Napoli, searching out a Godless Shrine, but you've also got to Sever the Bloodline, 3 copies of Mulch, 2 Abrupt Decays, 4 Grizzly Salvage, and 4 Burial Rites.
Yep, pretty much the same spell suit here. A couple of Garrick's in the main is pretty awesome. In the mirror, being able to eat Mana Guy and then search up your acidic slime.
Yep.
Is a pretty powerful sequence. A couple of Voice of Resurgences in Jim's main deck. Actually not very good in this matchup. This is one of the very few matchups where it's not, one of the defining cards.
Yeah.
But the full 8 mana creatures is very important in this matchup because, again, it is kind of a race on mana. As you can see, the Fiend Hunter playing as Stone Rain here. Getting an Avacyn's Pilgrim off the board. And yeah, the Angel Serenities and Thragtusks and Restoration Angels. The normal stuff.
So Jim is trying to slow down Napoli here, so that's why you're going to see that Fiend Hunter take care of that Avacyn's Pilgrim, as you said, a makeshift Stone Rain. Now we're going to see another Farseek here from Phil. You see people going towards Farseek now in their builds instead of the full 8 mana accelerants in Arbor Elf and Avacyn's Pilgrim. The reason you see that is because of the uptick in number 1 red decks that can just Pillar of Flame or Spear those mana accelerants and really ruin their acceleration. But 2, there are less Crater of Behemoths around, so having those multiple guys in play is relevant.
Right. You're just hedging a little against Wrath of God effects, taking out your mana in addition to your board presence, as well as cards like Pillar of Flame that always control decks are playing to deal with Voice of Resurgence, acting as Stone Rain. Whereas if you have Farseeks instead of mana creatures, the Pillar's basically dead. Yeah. So it's just for those reasons.
So here comes Davis. He's going to come in with Fiend Hunter and pass the turn back, leaving up 4 mana up, representing what feels to be a Restoration Angel here, most likely here from Davis on the end step. And you actually do see 2 of them in his hand right now.
Yep. Looks like he's going to try and go a little beatdown since he doesn't have any of the real enablers, the engine cards, the mulches, the salvages, the unburial rights, etc. So it's very possible that even if Philip Napoli doesn't play anything, that he would want to blink his Fiend Hunter and eat, that he is still going to use the Resto here just as a 3/4 and trying to go beat down.
Yep. You see Napoli tapping 4 mana here. It looks like he's moved to Sever the Bloodline to the front of his hand. So it looks like he's going to try to sever something here, which I can't believe is going to be successful, as he's going to target that Avacyn's Pilgrim.
Yeah, that is a very strange line. He's just calling a bluff there, right? Jim's obviously representing Restoration Angel there. So, as PNAPs, are you saying that you just don't care, or do you think that he's trying to say, you don't have it, and try and get a Stone Rain off?
Yeah, I think that's one case, and of course we're working with very good information here, borderline perfect, about Napoli and Davis's hands. But again, if he's not slamming in with that Avacyn's Pilgrim, he's got to be up to something, because it's not like he can double Grizzly Salvage in one turn because Pilgrim taps for white mana instead of black. So I think it's a pretty obvious Restoration Angel, as you're going to see Jim play an Overgrown Tomb untapped and take 2. Here's your Avacyn's Pilgrim. He doesn't attack again, so again, if you're Napoli, you have to believe that he has a second Restoration Angel here, because every point when they don't have Thragtusk does add up, so you want to try to get them dead as fast as you can.
Yep, and that's exactly what's happening. Jim is obviously saying, okay, well, I don't have any of the cards that are good in the mirror.
Yeah.
So I need to try and get him dead before he uses, before he slimes me out or gets an Angel of Serenity online.
Now we're going to see another Restoration Angel here from Davis on the end step.
After Philip Napoli misses a land drop.
Yep.
And land drop number 5 is a big one.
Yeah, 5 mana in this match is a big deal. Again, of course, because of Acidic Slime, but, you know, a Thragtusk here would really kind of help stabilize some things here for Napoli. He could gain 5 life, but also could start attacking with it, blinking with Restoration Angel, and all the other shenanigans that we are used to from the Junk Reanimator deck. But he can't quite do any of it right now.
Yeah. Looks like he's just looking to Restoration Angel to block is probably his best line here. After missing that land drop, I think that's sort of the only defense available to the deck. You know, there's not a lot of spot removal. The spot removal that is there is like Abrupt Decay that doesn't really kill angels anyway. Well, he's putting some mana together.
You see Davis sending in with everything but the Fiend Hunter, you know, so he's assuming that there's Restoration Angel coming.
Can't afford to get that eaten and give Philip Napoli his 5th mana source back, especially after he missed the land drop.
Yep.
Well, taking 2 extra damage from an angel to eat an Absence Pilgrim. A risk that Jim Davis knew was available, but, you know, he pushes through the extra damage. He's got to play
a pretty good one.
The other Fiend Hunter to take out the Restoration Angel, as well as another Absence Pilgrim.
So we're looking at 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 damage in the next turn. So we're looking at a lethal attack. We'll see if Napoli can actually draw land, maybe find a Thragtusk here. He finds nothing.
Wow.
He's going to concede game number 1. So Jim Davis does win game 1 of this Junk Reanimator mirror.
I can say that that is not at all how the mirror usually plays out.
Yeah, that's pretty rare.
That is a very, very, like, 1 in a million games actually goes like that. There's normally, you know, these long, grindy games with Unburial Rights on Angels, a ton of Thragtusks all trading off, and, like, you have to use your Unburial Rights on Thragtusks to live sometimes against their Thragtusks, but you don't want to because you want to save them for Angels. You know, crazy, crazy games. Yeah. It was just like, I'm playing a bunch of creatures and killing you.
Yeah, that was the most normal Magic that I've seen in a Junk mirror in some time.
Yes, for sure. So, game 1, a little abnormal, but post-board, everything gets shaken up quite a bit.
Yeah.
As the game plans are moved away from sort of, you know, Thragtusky mid-rangey cards into the Acidic Slime play.
Yep.
And Jim Davis only playing 1 main to go with his 2 main deck Garruk Relentless, going up to 4 on the board. He has the full other 3 in his sideboard. Sever the Bloodline that may come in, an Obsidian Ghost Council that sometimes comes in, and Sin Collectors that sometimes come in, as well as a 3rd Garruk Relentless. So lots of stuff for the mirror. No Death Rights, which actually is becoming more and more common. I wouldn't say that 0 Death Rights is common, but going from 4 down to like 2 has been pretty popular, just because like the Acidic Slime plan is so much better than the Reanimation plan that your anti-graveyard card isn't even that good anymore.
Yep.
You're better off playing, like using that slot on the 4th Acidic Slime and, you know, the extra Garruk. So yeah, that's what we see from Jim. On the other side,
well, we're looking at 2 Voice of Resurgence to go along with 2 Acidic Slimes, which again, Phil already has 2 in his main deck, so he'll be up to the full 4 as well. He does have those 2 copies of Deathrite Shaman that you spoke of, does have 3 copies of Sin Collector, has an additional Sever the Bloodline to go along with the one in his main deck. A Tristani, Celestia's Voice, a Vault of the Archangel in case he wants to bolster his mana a little bit, 2 Rave Revelations to help, of course, in the Ban Hexproof matchup, and then a Gaze of Granite, which is a card that we have seen a little bit here since its introduction from Dragon's Maze, but some players have found it to not be all that useful. Some players have found it to be pretty good against Ban Hexproof, but not going to come into play in this matchup, so I won't belabor that point too much. But again, he does have access to most of the same things that Jim does have. The additional copies of Acidic Slime, Sin Collectors, an additional Sever the Bloodline. Tristani Celestia's Voice is pretty good in the mirror because it is grindy, and you can gain some life that way and really just drag the game out. That Vault of the Archangels could end up playing a role, but it could backfire as well because it can make the mana a little bit worse since it is a colorless land. And then those 2 Deathrite Shamans are likely to join us. So, again, both players with a lot of options here. It'll be interesting to see what cards they move in, what cards they move out. Napoli has 2 main deck Abrupt Decays. I don't like those very much in this matchup.
yeah, those come out.
You know, he has... I've seen some people cut like one of the Angel Serenades because they kind of get clogged up in the hand a little bit. Some people slice and dice a few Unburial Rights. You know, you can go a lot of different ways. So I know a lot of people, I know Bronduan and Van Meter, they don't really love Thragtusk in the mirror because it just kind of gains 5 and doesn't really do very much else.
Yeah, no, I always cut all of the Thragtusks and never cut any of the angels. I cut like the removal spells. If you have any cards like Voice of Resurgence, main those come out, and the Thragtusks. I think that the big difference maker here, if you look at these deck lists, where they have access to pretty much the same tools all the way around. The one thing that is different, that is significant, is the Garruk Relentless for Jim Davis. Really powerful spell in this matchup. It is basically a one-card combo that utilizes the Acidic Slime plan perfectly, because you accelerate into it with your Mana Elves or Farseeks or whatever. In Jim Davis's situation, he's just playing the 8 1-mana creatures. So you accelerate into it, use its fighty ability to kill their mana guy, and it flips. And then you minus it, sacrificing your mana guy that accelerated into it for an Acidic Slime or a Restoration Angel.
Yep.
And then you just bury them under the slime, and you can like keep tutoring up more, and you're like sacrificing your slime to find another slime, and then on burialing the slime you just sacrificed, it just like gets completely out of hand. Garruk just does it all straight up on its own. And Jim has 3 post board, and it looks like Philip has none in his entire 75.
No Garruk here whatsoever. Because we're going to see a Temple Guard and Avacyn's Pilgrim for Davis, so he's going to have the mana advantage momentarily, as Napoli just has an Overgrown Tomb. We'll see if he does have a Farseek, and it looks like he does. So he will be able to get that mana advantage back momentarily.
And that is, one of the differences of Farseek versus the mana creature is the Garruk can't fight a Farseek that resolved. Which not only prevents the Garruk from Stone Raining theoretically, but also prevents the Garruk from flipping, which then that's what starts the tutor chain. So actually quite good against the Jim's Garruk plan is having the Farseek.
Yep. Again, not so reliant on the mana creatures. This is part of the reason, there are multiple reasons that people have moved away from mana creatures, and the Garruk Relentless aspect of it might be just a minor one, but it does add up as a reason to not play 8 mana accelerants anymore and move towards the 4 Avacyn's Pilgrim, 4 Farseek build of this deck.
Yep. So now we're going to start seeing the engines get online, the players going to mulch and salvage. It's usually what happens over the course of, turns 3 and 4. Wow.
Yeah, you see a mulch here. Doesn't hit any lands, but it does hit 2 copies of Unburial Rites, a Grizzly Salvage, and another mulch. So if you're Phil, you're a little bit scared because there are 2 Unburial Rites there, but you're also breathing a sigh of relief because there was no creature or Acidic Slime that was hit off of that mulch.
Yeah. Thankfully for Jim, he does have enough lands. He didn't need to get any off of that mulch, and now he's got access to the Acidic Slimes in his hand, as well as the Unburial Rites in his yard. And I think he has Unburial Rites in his hand.
Yeah.
So theoretically, things could get pretty scary, but if the Acidic Slimes resolve and Phil just doesn't kill them, then it's possible that he can get to the point where he can start doing things like Angel Serenity. But if they're both on slimes and Philip is sort of forced to trade off or lose a race, then things are going to get out of hand.
One thing that Napoli was not able to accomplish last game, he was not ever able to get to 5 mana. He's already cracked that wall down. Because of the 2 Farseeks and 3 lands, he's at 5 mana, which means, more importantly, that he's going to be the first one to get to cast Acidic Slime here. And that's where a lot of this matchup goes, because if you see Davis's hand, he does have Unburial Rites, but he also has 2 copies of Acidic Slime in his hand. So let's see if Napoli actually does have an Acidic Slime to set Davis even farther back, as he's reaching for mana right away here.
Yeah, and you can see how important the Acidic Slime plan is, and how important it is to have access to all 4. Some people try and shave down to 3, but both of these players know. Both players going up to 4 post board, because you have to have it on turn 5, or 4 if you're accelerating into it. Because if you don't, then they'll untap and slime you, and you're gone. Whereas if you get to slime first and have it, then they don't get to slime you back, and you pull twice as far ahead.
And if you're Davis and you look at the hand that he kept this game, as you're going to see him play a second Avacyn's Pilgrim in Isolated Chapel, kept a great hand. He had a mulch, he had a Turn 1 mana accelerant in Avacyn's Pilgrim, he had multiple Acidic Slimes, lands, and he may or may not have had Unburial Rites, but that's a hand that you want in the mirror just about every time. The only thing that you really like is to be on the play with it instead of on the draw.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the difference maker so often. Either who has 2 accelerants to the other guy's 1, or who's on the play.
And so now you're going to see Napoli immediately. He attacks with that acidic slime. Davis is not going to be able to double block because, I mean, first of all, it's going to make him lose 2 mana accelerator. And second of all, what if Napoli has some burial rights?
Yeah,
But now we see a Restoration Angel come in. That's going to blink the slime. It's going to take out the isolated Chapel. Try to cut some of Davis's white mana and put some strain on those Avacyn's Pilgrims.
Yeah, I mean, you get if they can cast anything anyway, you know, they have the double over and all that. Attacking the white is sort of the default because of the triple white of Angel Serenity. But that's obviously not going to be a problem for Philip Napoli with his multiple Farseeks. He's got a bunch of white in play, and now we're at this weird position where Philip can't really kill. Ooh. Let's see, Grizzly Salvage.
Sun Petal Grove, Woodland Cemetery, Sever the Bloodline, Fiend Hunter, and a Farseek. But continue with your point.
He can't really trade for Jim Davis's Acidic Slime because he knows that Jim has 2 Unburial Rights in his graveyard. So can he sort of find a way to win and capitalize on his, you know, being able to slime first and following it up with the Angel? Is he going to be able to capitalize on that without sort of being buried by Jim's own recurring slime?
Fiend Hunter looks like a nice choice here, just to be able to take a slime and keep attacking. But I mean, does that mean that it's right with like how this matchup goes back and forth and back and forth? Because I mean, he can't take Sever Bloodline. In a perfect world, he would take Sever off those elves and move on with life, but he can't do that. So is it correct to let Fiend Hunter go? Does this mean that he has an Unburial Rights in his hand?
Why can't he do that?
Say again?
Why can't he do that?
Can't do what?
Sever the elves?
Well, right. I mean, he can't take Sever with Grizzly.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say that because that's like his end game, right? Like,
yes.
That's what he's aiming to. Is
yes.
The double Stone Rain from the back of the Sever, but he is a turn away from that, so he is going to have to do something else. Okay, so he took a land so that he could get to Sever.
Yeah.
But then he gets the Fiend Hunter also in the form of the Unburial Rights.
So this is a really good Grizzly Salvage.
Yes, very, very good.
So now there's a Restoration Angel. You see Acidic Slime from Davis that he pulls towards the front of his hand yet again.
And you have to keep sliming if you're Jim because that Sever taking out 2 mana sources is too bad for you.
Yeah, the actual threat of that Sever is pretty scary. But you also see that Davis did draw a Restoration Angel for the turn. So he could leave Restoration Angel up. And so if Napoli does have the 7th land, then then he blinks out the Pilgrim that's being targeted, and it's like a miniature blowout, but how good is that in reality?
Yeah, like if you hold up to do that, and Philip Napoli just like casts another slime or whatever, like it's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to slime him and keep going, keep progressing your board. And again, like having an acidic slime in play obviously stops the Fiend Hunter, but also stops the other acidic slime. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, this is an interesting attack again because of those 2 Unburial Rights that are in the graveyard. Can Napoli afford to make this attack? Like he had a mana advantage, but now we're kind of even up now.
Right, and trading off the slimes means that Philip Napoli gets the Unburial Rights this turn.
Yep.
But then Jim Davis gets the Unburial Rights the next turn, and I think the mana is more important to Philip Napoli because he's the one that's trying to get to Sever. Ooh, but he has the follow-up slime anyway.
So now he has a 3rd slime where you saw Davis before blockers. He kind of looked at Napoli's graveyard. He's like, okay, you have that Unburial Rights there that you can flash back. I don't know if I want to play this game where you're going to be ahead. I save myself a little bit of damage, but you're going to be ahead on mana. I'm going to try to chase you down, and this Restoration is going to keep clinking away at me. So I'm not ever really picking up or making any ground. So he took the damage, but then a 3rd Acidic Slime. Maybe that actually is the 2nd one. It's the 2nd Acidic Slime for Phil. Takes out another land, takes out an isolated Chapel, and Davis is still in between that rock and a hard place position now.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to preserve his slime on board so that he could resto it and progress his board while also getting a slime trigger. If he trades off slimes, then Philip Unburial Rights his slime, Jim Davis untaps Unburial Rights his slime. He's still getting hit. The board is equalized and he's still getting hit in the air by the Angel. So he's actually trying to use his resto. Oh, wow, another mulch, a 0-land mulch being awesome. Unburial Rights, Angel of Serenity, and another slime there, and a Thrag Tusk, which actually should not be in his deck. But
yeah, I mean, he may have left 1 copy in, who knows?
Yeah.
But what you see there is you see that Unburial Rights, Angel of Serenity going to come in. It's going to try to take out the Acidic Slime and the 2 Avacyn's Pilgrims. You're going to see a Restoration Angel here from Davis. It's going to blink Acidic Slime. But, the problem here is that he's just getting beaten down too much in the air.
Yeah.
That's the big issue.
Did the Angel target the Acidic Slime?
I believe the targets were Acidic Slime and two Absence Pilgrims. Phil just wanted to clear the board and just get in for a lethal attack.
Sure.
So you can see he's going to pick up those two. Acidic Slime is going to be left behind as it did kill a land for Napoli. Again, Napoli is in the driver's seat here because he can just keep attacking now.
Yeah, like Jim Davis doesn't have the time or the mana to be able to sort of get his way back in against the 5/6 body of the Angel of Serenity. So if Phil just sends this turn and then sends the next turn, there seems like there's very little that Jim can do to get out of it.
Yeah. The mulch was very, very good. The question was, did Phil have the land? Because he was mulching with 5 lands in play. So he played a mulch, had 3 lands on tap. The big question was, does he have another land for the Unburial Rights, which he did.
Yeah.
Was able to flashback Unburial Rights, get back the Angel, and now you see where we're at in this game, which is Phil Napoli pretty far ahead. As you're going to see some blocks, some things go to the graveyard. But at the end of the day, it looks like we've got Jim Davis at 4. He's got a Restoration Angel against an army that's, unfortunately for him, a little bit better Restoration Angel.
Yep. Facing down lethal. Nothing he can do. Looks like we're going to be on to game 3 as soon as Jim double, triple checks, makes sure he's dead. And we saw the mana advantage of being on the play being the difference here.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about in Magic how being on the play is everything, as Davis is going to unfortunately concede this game. Doesn't look like he wants to, but I think he realizes that the only reason I lost that game is because I was on the draw.
Yep.
That's actually what ended up happening, is both players had the same amount of acceleration. Napoli was able to get the 5 lands first because he was on the play. He starts Acidic Sliding before Davis can, and that ends that game. We'll see here if Davis is able to win the game when he's on the play, where both players have 4 Acidic Slimes.
Yeah. I mean, the white pieces are better,
Yep. That's the big one here, because again, the mana, and you see this a lot in green mirrors all the time, especially when it involves mana accelerants. The first one to play like the relevant spell, and oddly enough, it's typically a 5 mana spell. In these green mirrors, like be it Wolfir Silverheart or some other cards, like, oh, well, he played Silverheart before me, so I can't win.
What's the backbreaker now?
Yeah. Now it's just 5 mana 2/2 with Death Touch, but it's good enough. That's what actually gets the job done.
So it looks like both players reboarding. I guess now that it's confirmed that both players are all in on Slime, that reconfiguring to be optimized in that type of matchup.
Hey, here's a question: how much really changes, right? Like, I feel like both players are kind of looking back just for just to look back and make sure they didn't forget anything. But how much really changes here?
I mean, you would think not much, but if we did see Philip Napoli flip over a Thragtusk, like maybe he was sort of hedging, and now that he knows that it's an Acidic Slime game that's being played, then he can go back and board out his Thragtusk for like whatever, Sin Collector or Sever, whatever card he left out.
Okay.
And same from the other side. You can't always assume that your opponent's doing the same thing as you in these mirrors. If one of the players played like a voice into like a smiter into a Thragtusk or whatever, and you're on the Slime playing, like it's possible that you just get run over if you don't have your own Thragtusk.
That's very, very true. I guess that's one thing to consider in this pretty unique matchup here between Junk Reanimator mirrors. That there's Acidic Slime is the paramount here, but there are probably some other ways to go that we haven't identified yet. And we'll see how Game 3 does play out. As if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, AJ Soccer here in the booth. Star City Games Open Series has made its way to Baltimore. And it's pretty beautiful outside, as we have a pretty nice view of the outside windows here in the Baltimore Convention Center.
The sun coming into the convention center is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of taunting me a little bit. Wishing I could be out there in that. I feel like it's 85, 90 degree heat. Thank God we don't have that in Seattle. But if you guys do want to join us on Twitter, feel free. We have our devices available to us at SCG Live, hashtag SCGBALT, SCGBALT. If you guys do want to join on the conversation with AJ and I, of 10 rounds of awesome Standard, and we'll have some Legacy action for you guys tomorrow. The Brainstorm Maestro himself is with me, so if we had double Standard, I don't think he would have done this show, because he needs his Legacy fill.
I still really like covering Limited. Should do more Limited.
It's a different ball game.
It is. It's so fun though.
Yeah.
Like the games are so wildly different than each other.
Yeah. It's just a different ball game entirely. Standard, Legacy, I think we're used to a lot of the cards. Commentating it's a little bit easier because I don't have to explain what Voice of Resurgence does every time it gets cast. But when it's time to talk about Zortar Druid, for example, and that card's power level, all the things that can happen there. I mean, and trying to say the name of the card because I'm sure I butchered the actual pronouncing it.
Everyone go tweet at Cedric Phillips.
Yeah.
Tell him how horribly he pronounced the name of that
I
card.
certainly can't spell it either. It's a different ballgame entirely, but we'll have some more limited events in the future.
It's got an H in it, but not where you'd think.
That's true. I do not know how to spell it. I am openly admitting that. I do know that I like to cast it a lot. I do not know how to spell it. Both players taking a look here at the opening hands, because I think the first thing they're looking for when they're looking at opening hands, I know you play a lot more Junk Reanimator than I do. Number one, they're looking for a mana accelerant.
Yes.
That's like the first thing.
Yes, that is the most important thing. Followed then by slime, or at least slime enablers.
Yeah.
And then, the right mix of like things to do on the given turns. Like Jim Davis's hand there looked like it was like 5 lands and a Grizzly Salvage and a Mulch or something like that. It's like just not enough action, you know? Like unless your salvage hits perfectly, like if your salvage is just like even okay, like if it just hits a slime or an Unburial Rights or whatever, like you're probably gonna lose. Just like that's not enough action. But I mean, it is. You do want to sort of lean towards the side of being mana heavy rather than mana light if given the option. But you want that mana to be fast mana, or at least some of it. You can't have all your mana just be like your land drops, or you're going to be too far behind.
And if you're Jim, it's super important. You want to get off to a really nice start this game. Like, yes, maybe you can keep a little bit more of a land heavy hand because you're on the play. Maybe you can draw into a Pilgrim or an Arbor Elf, but you want to get off to like a nice start so that Phil is always on the back foot just trying to catch up to you, as you saw Phil do last game against Jim.
Yeah, not only being on the play, but also being the guy with the 8 1-mana accelerants instead of 4 1 and 4 2-mana accelerants. You can really get a leg up in like an accelerant into turn 2, accelerant and Mulch or Salvage, whereas the Farseek draw can't do that.
Yep. Now you're going to see Davis go down to 5.
He is going to 5, but I will say the Junk Reanimator, especially with the Slime Plane, is one of the decks that can mulligan the best.
Yep.
Like if you're able to get a Slime sequence off, or like a Garrick into Slime sequence off, it doesn't really matter that you're down cards because half your opponent's hand is blanked because they can't cast it, and you're so ahead on tempo that you have enough time to sort of draw into door closers after that. Like we saw, it was against Jund, Max Teats playing Jund, but we saw Chris Van Meter win from a mold to 4 in the top 8 of Somerset, the Standard Open in New Jersey. And that was a pretty sick game.
Yeah. I mean, this is one deck that definitely does mulligan well. It's frustrating anytime you have to take a mulligan or 2, but when you have cards that undo mulligans like Mulch, like Grizzly Salvage to a certain extent, or in this matchup, a card that can really undo a mulligan is Garrick Relentless.
Yes.
Because it can just gun down a guy and then set Phil back an entire turn. You have some cards that can undo some things. So taking a mulligan to 5, while not ideal, it's not the end of the world. And you see Jim, it looks like he's got 2 lands and a Grizzly Salvage, so let's rock and roll.
Yeah, two lands and Arbor Elf and a Grizzly Salvage.
Yeah, this hand's great.
Yeah, you can't ask for much more than that.
So here's Phil, he's going to take 2, and he's got Absence Pilgrim, so he said, all right, I can keep up with you.
Which is dangerous for Jim. That's exactly what he doesn't want to see. He wants that accelerant to be the Farseek,
Unburial Rights the draw for Jim this turn. Here comes Grizzly Salvage, going to start here, get that information. So our 5 cards are Temple Garden, Acidic Slime, Angel of Serenity, Fiend Hunter, and that is a, Restoration Angel. So, depending on the lands that he has in his hand, he does have a Temple Garden. I think you might want to take Fiend Hunter.
Yeah, Fiend Hunter to get the Pilgrim and then to go into like Unburial the Slime after that is a line. He could also just play it safe and take the land. Although he's got Temple Garden and Isolated Chapel.
Yeah.
So taking the land would be a fairly conservative line. I think you either take the Slime or the Fiend Hunter, whether you want to attack their lands directly and sort of sequence that way, or use your own mana more efficiently, right? Because he doesn't have a play next turn.
Sure.
If he takes the Acidic Slime, whereas if he takes the Fiend Hunter, then he goes next turn Slime, the turn after, or next turn Fiend Hunter, the Pilgrim, and then the turn after, if he draws a land in those 2 draw steps, then he can Unburial the Slime and use his mana the most efficiently. So let's see how sort of risky he wants to play it here. He does go for the more mana efficient route.
And I like this, asking my deck to cough up a couple of lands. This is going to play Temple Garden and pass the turn back. I think I'm okay with this. It also makes it a lot more reasonable for me to make that decision when my Arbor Elf can untap my Temple Garden for multiple white. Yes, he does have Isolated Chapel, but in a world where he didn't, you know, the fact that Arbor Elf is going to provide that second white mana is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for Napoli, you know now that my Pilgrim is going to die. So do I have Farseek? You know, do I have another Pilgrim? What do I have to keep parity with this mana? Because again, I'm on the draw, and even though my opponent's mulligan at 5, I have to keep up.
Yeah. He's being on the draw. He's like a land drop or half a land drop behind. He's able to keep parity with the 1 mana accelerant, but the Fiend Hunter is gonna put that 1 turn in advance back in Jim's favor. So he's got the Farseek to once again pull it back to parity. And now it's just the disadvantage of being on the draw.
Yep.
Right. It's otherwise even. And that's all that Philip Napoli really wants, is to be even, because with Jim on 5, if he can stay at parity and not get buried, then he'll be able to, you know, be up cards at the end of the game. And Jim actually did draw another land.
Drew a Woodland Cemetery.
Yes, so he is going to have access to Unburial on Acidic Slime next turn.
Now, if you're Napoli, okay, so I was going to say, as awful as this would feel to have to like sever the Bloodline in Arbor Elf, if he had Sever, I think you'd have to cast it, but he has a mulch for Acidic Slime, Deathrite Shaman, this is important, and then 2 lands.
A couple of lands and a couple of key creatures. But is it going to be fast enough? I mean, Jim's hand is Unburial and the land to cast it, and then he's got the backside of Unburial to hit either the Angel to really just, you know, do his thing, or a Resto on the Slime and get another land.
So Davis
plus the 2
draw. There's your Woodland Cemetery. You can't cast that Unburial Rites fast enough. Acidic Slime more. Ooh.
Whoa. That was interesting.
Now that would surprise both you and I. He's going to reach in there for Angel's Serenity. I think you have to go reaching for Acidic Slime and just do what happened to you the last game.
Letting fill up to 5 mana is exactly what you don't want. And you know he's got the Acidic Slimes in his deck, you know, potentially in his hand. He has an Acidic Slime in his yard from a Grizzly Salvage that he could Unburial Rights if you let him have 5 mana. I think you just have to Slime here. You always have the backside of Unburial for that Angel if you want it later. But wow, he's going straight for the Angel. This is an aggressive line. That's what it is. He's trying to kill Philip Napoli as quickly as he can before Philip can take advantage of the fact that he's up 2 cards from the mulligan, 3 from the fact that he's on the draw. But that is not going to work in any real universe. And as we see, hitting a Grizzly Salvage and an Angel of Serenity, or the Unburial Rights and the Angel of Serenity off the Grizzly Salvage, and another Acidic Slime, the resto, just all of the options in the world.
But this is what I don't like about that play from Davis, is because now he's done a lot of different things here by casting that Unburial Rights on Angel of Serenity. One thing that he's done is you know, typically in these Shark Reanimator mirrors, it's the second of Angel of Serenity that's the backbreaker. It's not the first one. But additionally, now his Unburial Rights is off in his graveyard because he doesn't have any other targets. So, you know, let's say that in a hypothetical world, he gets back to the Acidic Slime, blows up one of Napoli's lands, Napoli casts Grizzly Salvage, whatever. But then, you know, Napoli Unburial Rights his Angel of Serenity the following turn. Now Davis actually has an answer with his flashback on Unburial Rights on his Angel of Serenity.
Exactly.
Whereas now, what can he do to get himself out of a situation where Napoli just goes, yeah, Unburial Rights, Angel of Serenity, like off whatever I want to take care of. You know, I feel like Davis had control, and now he's giving Napoli control back. He's easy. That's Angel of Serenity doesn't cost that much yet. Maybe in the next set, but not yet. As he's going to cast some Unburial Rights on Angel of Serenity, and now it's like, okay, what am I going to do? You know,
just get your 3 guys. Get my Arbor Elf back with 2 Unburials in Philip Napoli's graveyard, and you know, Slimes and Resto, like a Resto in his hand, Slimes to get back in his yard, like. He's just running away with it, basically.
And the other thing for Napoli now, too, is like, you know, you give back a Restoration Angel and a Acidic Slime, but what do you care? You got the best card on the table.
Yeah, and access to more Slimes than Jim does, because he's got 2 Slimes and 2 Unburial Rights in his yard, in addition to a Resto in his hand, I think, plus the Angel of Serenity that he just accidentally showed us.
Yep.
Like, I mean, he's right where he wants to be, and Jim Davis had a chance to try and stop this by keeping him on 5 mana for at least one more turn.
And the other thing now too is if you're Davis, now now you're just put in a position where I think honestly he has to cast Acidic Slime. He doesn't have a choice because if he doesn't cast Acidic Slime, Phil has 6 mana. He showed him that Angel Strength on accident. So like if he just like leaves mana up to cast a Restoration Angel or whatever, it's like he could just make the argument of just going, yeah, I'll just cast another 5/6. It's like you can't beat just a 5/6 being a 5/6 flyer. You can't do it. But now we see Acidic Slime come in. It's going to take care of Overgrown Tomb for Napoli. So Davis doesn't get to nuke a land, but again, Napoli is in a really good position right now. As you see him scanning his graveyard, he knows he has Unburial Rights. He wants to take a look at what can I bring back. We know he's got the Acidic Slime down there. So, I mean, Napoli is just in the driver's seat here and is just pulling farther and farther ahead where Davis is just trying to keep up, but his lands are just going to be going away now.
Yep. I mean, he doesn't have plays, right? Like, he's got just the resto for the Acidic Slime. His Unburial is off. He literally has no targets right now. And Napoli doesn't need his lands. Like, the Stone Rains are affecting Jim way more than they're affecting Phil. And not to mention that Phil also has this, 4-turn clock.
Yep.
In addition to having the better board, the better hands, the better graveyard, more resources available to him. Like, I think that Jim's only chance this game was really to Slime to keep Phil from getting a 5, and then the next turn, or to, Unburial Slime to keep him from getting a 5. Next turn, he can either Unburial the Angel Serenity if he feels he has to, but more realistically, Unburial the Restoration Angel, Slime him again, and try and permanently keep Phil off of 5 mana. I think was his only real way to win this game from 5 cards.
And just kind of cross your fingers and hope he is never able to get to the 5 mana threshold. When you're on a mulligan to 5, you don't have a bevy of options. You have to use what you've drawn and kind of hope for the best, and maybe your opponent kind of fumbles around and you're able to pull ahead plus some favorable draw steps. Again, I don't feel like he gave himself the best opportunity to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree completely. And now he's just in this nightmare situation where he can sort of see his opponent's next few turns like scripted out for him, and he knows like what he has, and it just lines up perfectly against him.
Yeah.
Where like, something pretty amazing is going to have to happen for Jim to pull it out here, and he knows it.
Yeah. The issue here for Jim now is that, yes, while he's making decisions, he's deciding if he wants to attack, do I want a Restoration Angel, which you see he's going to do with the Acidic Slime and blow up the Godless Shrine, but all of the decisions here honestly lie in Napoli's hands about what he wants to do, because he's the one with all the options. Jim Davis has a Sin Collector in his hand, and he had a Restoration Angel, where Napoli is like, okay, what do I want to do this turn? Because his turn's going to take a few minutes here.
Yeah, he's got like an Unburial Rights with a bunch of different options in the yard, a handful of like 5 or 6 spells, and way more mana like per turn on average this game, where, I don't know, it's just like the way that Jim was trying to play the game is like he was trying to play it as if he wasn't super far behind.
Yeah.
When he was.
Yeah. And so now we're going to see a Flashback Unburial Rights yet again on Acidic Slime. You're going to see Phil move those lands. Which one do I want to take out? It's an Overgrown Tomb. Leaving Jim with, again, he does have access to all the colors of mana, be able to cast his spells, but as we saw in Game 1, while that's great that you can do those things, your life total is not infinite.
Yeah.
It's 20, currently it's 12, and it's looking to go down to 7. And maybe 5. As you see Acidic Slime getting a little frisky, coming to the red zone as well, with, again, no great blocks here for Jim. Yes, Phil is turning back on his Unburial Rights. It's in his graveyard. But again, how relevant is that Unburial Rights now as it was 2 turns ago?
Yeah. Yeah, the mana deficit, or the mana the threat of a mana deficit at this point is not nearly as threatening. Like, if Jim is spending his turn on Burial Righting a Slime and hitting one of Napoli's, 5 or 6 mana sources, then Philip has to be like ecstatic about that. Yeah. Because Jim's only real way out of this game is to like salvage into another Angel to then Unburial Rights that.
Yep.
So he's sort of just putting the maximum amount of pressure available onto Jim to make sure that he closes the window as quickly as possible to prevent exactly that sequence from happening.
Yeah, at this point for Napoli, it's his job to basically put Jim in some pretty terrible situations, make him have bad blocks, and also force the game to go, maybe 2 or 3 turns at most, and no more than that.
Yeah.
Just cut the clock, cut the draw steps. If he's going to play Temple Garden untap, here's 2 mana, here's a Farsi. Going to bolster his mana a little bit more to get that Angel Serenity that we know he has in his hand.
Yep, and Jim Davis's acidic slime is getting less and less effective every turn that goes by.
Yep.
So he untaps, hoping for a miracle, and it's a land, I think.
It's not a miracle.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Yeah. I mean, thinking from a junk reanimator perspective, the only real sequence that gets you out of these situations is if you mulch or salvage into an angel and something, and are able to stabilize on the back of an Angel Serenity. But these decks only play 3, which is a thing that happens, and he had already used 1, so it's just thinner and thinner, and more pressure, and a bigger and bigger mana deficit. Every turn is just snowballing in Philip's favor.
Yep. The one thing is, Phil was able to get ahead and stay ahead. That's the important thing. That's the big deal here.
And there it is.
And what we see is a victory for Junk Reanimator. Congratulations, Junk Reanimator! On a big
Who could
victory.
have guessed that Junk Reanimator was going to win that match?
But Phil Napoli is going to move on to 4-0. He defeats Jim Davis 2 games to